හරි මේ දැම්මේ මම අපිට දාගෙන කියලා අපි වැඩේට බහින්නයි යන්නේ.
Now this is us almost in the middle of a long tunnel extended mine. So we've all just walked along the mine. If you came into work for an 8-hour day, that's exactly what they're expecting from you. They're not keen on giving you a break at all. That won't happen until about 1890. It was when the shearers actually caused a bit of fuss to make more break.
හරි මේක දැන් හරි මේ දැම්මේ මම නැට් එක
අයෝන අපි කැප් එක දාගෙන වැඩේ පටන් ගන්න යන්නේ. අපි දෙන්නට උනා වැඩේට යන්න වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද චුටි බබත් ඉන්නවා. බබට කැප් එකක් දාන්නත් බෑ. ඇතුළේදී අඬයි දන්නේ නැහැ. ඩිස්ටර්බ් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ හින්දා අපි ගිහිල්ලා එන්නම්. එවිල කියන්න මොකද විස්තරය කියලා.
හායි ඔයාලට කොහොමද? ඔස් ලයිෆ් විත් එල්සා අපේ YouTube channel එකට ඔයාලව හැමෝම සාදරයෙන් පිළිගන්නවා. ඉතින් ඔන්න අදත් අපි ඔයාලට ලස්සන වීඩියෝ එකක් අරගෙන ආවා. ඔයාලා දන්නවනේ අපි මේ තවම කොතනද ඉන්නේ කියලා. අපි දැන් මේ ඇවිත් ඉන්නේ අවුරුදු 100කටත් වඩා පැරණි ටවුන් එකකටනේ. ඉතින් මේ ටවුන් එකේ ඉතිහාසයේ විස්තර ගොඩක් මම අපේ කලින් වීඩියෝ එකකින් අරගෙන ආවා. ඉතින් ඔයාලා මේ වීඩියෝ එක තාම බැලුවේ නැත්නම් මුලින්ම මේ වීඩියෝ එක බලන්න අමතක කරන්න එපා. ඒ වගේම තමයි මම එදා කිව්වා අපි අද රත්තරන් පතල් කැනීම් කරපු ටන එකක් බලන්න යනවා කියලා. ඉතින් මේ තමයි ඒ ටනල් එක. මේක ඇතුළට යන්න කලින් ඇතුළේ විස්තර පොඩ්ඩක් මෙයාලා අපිට පැහැදිලි කරලා දෙනවා. ඒවත් දැනගෙනම ඇතුළට ගියාම ටිකක් මේක බලන්න ආස හිතෙනවා.
So pretty much the road that you drove in when you came into Walhalla follows the same course as that creek. Now when they get into the very southern end of town, about where the cemetery is, they'll start to pan the creek there and they're finding a very fine alluvial gold. So not the big nuggets of things you'll find right around Bendigo and Ballarat. Up here it's a very fine gold, almost like a dust, and they have to pan for it. Now once Ned realises he's got quite a bit in that creek, he knows he has to make a claim for that. So he takes off to a place called Bald Hills, it's now called Seaton, and he makes his claim over there. But for him to get from here, get to Bald Hills and get back again, that takes him about 2 weeks. And in that time there's plenty of men in the area who've worked out something's happening here. Even as he made his claim, there were 14 men that followed him back here. Within about 3 months, they've got about 300 men in that creek all looking for their piece of gold. And they pretty much cleaned the creek out in those first couple of months. But then they realised to have gold in the creek in the first place, it needed to have come from somewhere, had to have a source. So they go looking around town, and it was up behind us on this western ridge here that they...
ඉතින් මේ ටනල් එක පිහිටලා තියෙන්නේ ලොකු කන්දක බෑවුමක. මෙන්න මෙතනින් තමයි ඒ ටනල් එක ඇතුළට යන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ ටනල් එක හදලා තියෙන්නේ 1865 දී. ඕස්ට්‍රේලියාවේ ධනවත්ම ක්‍රන් කැනීම් වලින් එකක් තමයි මේ තියෙන්නේ. මේ උඹග දිගින් කිලෝමීටර් 8.5ක් පුරාවට තිබුණත් අද අපිව එක්කගෙන යන්නේ මීටර් 300ක් විතරයි. මේ උඹග කිලෝමීටර් 8.5ක් දුරකට තියෙනවා වගේම මීටර් 923ක ගැඹුරකින් යුතුව තමයි තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ආරක්ෂක හේතුන් මත තමයි මෙයාලා අපිව මීටර් 300ක් විතරක් එක්කගෙන යන්නේ. මේ යන ගමනේදී ඒ කාලේ මේ උමග හාරන්න භාවිතා කරපු යන්ත්‍ර උපකරණ ඒ වගේ පොඩි අයිටම් ඒ කියන්නේ රත්තරම් අරගෙන කොහොමද මෙයාලා මෙතනින් එළියට ආවේ මේක හැදුවේ කොහොමද ඒ වගේ දේවල් ඔක්කොම මෙයාලා අපිට පෙන්වන්න ප්‍රදර්ශන කුටියක් වගේ එකක් හදලා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් අපි මේ දැන් යන්නේ ඒ ප්‍රදර්ශන කුටිය බලන්න.
Grounds are. Now this is us almost in the middle, the long tunnel extended mine. So we've all just walked along this part and we're standing right about here. Now the shaft I talked about behind me that was involved in the collapse, that was it. It went down 937 metres. Now when they got down to that level they lost track of the quartz reef, had to send out more drives trying to relocate it. The last effort they'll ever put in was this shaft, went down to 1120 metres. So they ended up digging down over a kilometre in the end. When it was first dug, it was the deepest gold mine in the world for a couple of years. That intersection we were just at, and to get down to here, it's taken them another 4 years of digging. Now, most of that is still being done with the hammer and tap until about, until about 1875 when this gets invented. That's the pneumatic rock drill. That made their life a lot easier. They could get through the mine in double time when they were using that. The problem was though, wherever they use those drills in the mine fills up with dust. The men are breathing that in, it's settling on their lungs and it's causing silicosis, or otherwise known as miner's complaint, or black lung. So for about 15 years in these mines, they're a pretty lethal place to be working. You wouldn't want to be in here at all if you knew. Now the men knew the dust was a bit of a problem, but they didn't think it was going to kill them eventually, of course. And if you see early photos of the old miners, they'll all have big thick moustaches and big thick beards and they're trying to filter out some of that dust, but it's just not working for them. So a miner who would start in this mine about the age of 18 is probably going to be dead by about the age of 28. He'd be really lucky to get into his, take it out at the end of his shift. But the problem there is that he works in a gold mine and he could have been working in an area where they're finding some nice bits of gold. Now he's going to be searched every time he leaves the mine. They're going to look in his ears, in his nose, his mouth, his hair, his beard, all of his clothes. Another big boiler right in front. And there was 2 more upright boilers over in this corner here. Now as I mentioned with the boilers, they're burning a lot of wood, burning about 30 tonne a day. So they've got a lot of... Right, now this is our large machinery chamber. Now when this was first built, this was over 42 metres long. This was enormous, this chamber. We're left in less than a quarter of what was here. Now, unfortunately, behind me in 1986, they were trying to reopen the main shaft and they had a collapse in the mine, so we can't go into that area anymore.
How cute.
There was a shop closing down in town, so we went and got all the mannequins, they're all females, so we had to wrap them all up in bubble wrap. Now if I move that a bit, you can see a bit of a flicker of some of those industrial diamonds that are in there. Now that one piece of equipment would cost them about $8,000 and they're only getting about 2 weeks work out of that. So you can see it was easy to go through money very, very quickly. And this is the sort of stone they were looking for. It's a stone that have got that quartz running right through it. Now as I've mentioned here, the gold's pretty fine. You'd really have to have this crushed and processed to see if there was any gold in it. We're pretty convinced this has nothing in it because they've taken half of it and left me with this. So I'm pretty sure that's empty. But if you look on the end there, you do see a bit of a flicker. And it looks like we might have found a little bit of gold there. Unfortunately, that's just a bit of iron pyrite, a bit of fool's gold on the end of that. And another nice feature of the quartz reef too is that it's made up of silica. So a bit like glass, and you can pass light straight through that stone. So that always looks pretty impressive too. Now, for the 2 companies to get to this part of the mine now, it's taken them 4 pressure on that.
ඉතින් මෙයාලා කියන විදිහට මේ උමග හදන කාලේ කම්කරුවන් පැය 10ක් වගේ වෙලාවක් කට්ටියක් වැඩ කරලා මාරුවෙන් මාරුවට අනිත් කට්ටිය ඇවිත් වැඩ කරනවලු. කම්කරුවන් හරි අමාරුවෙන් තමයි මේ තෙතමනය හා උණුසුම් තියෙන මේ භූගත පරිසරයට ඇතුල් වෙලා මේ විදිහට මේ ටනල් එක නිර්මාණය කරලා රන් කැනීම් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ කාලේ මෙතනින් රත්තරන් ටොන් 13.7ක් වගේ හොයාගෙන තියෙනවා කියලා තමයි කිව්වේ. ඉතින් අපිව ගයිඩ් කරන කෙනා අපිව විනාඩි 40-45ක් වගේ කාලයක් ඇතුළත මේකේ ඇතුලේ අපිව එක්කගෙන යනවා.
Had all the gold in it. It was called Cohen's Reef. It pops out at the very top of the mountain. It comes through on about a 70-degree angle and goes under our feet over a kilometre. You can also see that grey clay that's around the stone as well. And that's what I mentioned outside that would have had gold in it too that was getting washed out in the rain, and that's what was ending up in the creek. Now, it wasn't a very big mine for these guys. They didn't have a lot of money. The first thing they do is dig off in that south direction. They're chasing the reef that way. They get about 10 metres past the last light you can see down there, and they have to stop digging because they meet the end of their claim. They also meet a bunch of men from the Royal Mint claim who were chasing the reef from the other side. So then they had to work out where claims and borders begin and end. So you don't want to dig into someone else's claim. That doesn't go down well. So they stopped digging in that direction, and they'll pretty much only ever dig to that intersection that you can see behind me there. So it's not a big mine at all. But they did manage to take out about 200 tonnes of this quartz ore out of here. When they got it crushed and processed though, they were pretty disappointed, because for every tonne of this they're getting crushed, if you've seen the mining carts at the front of the blacksmith shop, well, 2 of them hold about a tonne of ore. So for every 2 of them that they're getting crushed, they're only getting back about half an ounce of gold. So about the size of a $2 coin. So they're not doing very well at all. But in mining, you don't know when you're going to strike it lucky. You've got to keep digging. So the first thing they did was put in that little half drive you would have noticed as we came into the area. Now they were trying to see if there was any offshoots of the quartz reef running off in that direction. Now by the time they digged that and they realised it was empty, they'd run out of money. They had to sell the mine. So that happened in 1871. That's when the Long Tunnel Extended Mining Company buy it. Now when they buy this mine, they realise that the stone from here to the surface is pretty poor quality, so they're not interested in that. What they'll remember is all the early mines in town. They started low down on creek level. They were getting good gold within a couple of years, so they want to be part of that. So what they want to do now is abandon all of these workings that were in here. They're going to go back to that main adit we were just in and continue that into the middle of the mountain until they're high above this quartz reef. Then they're going to try and dig a shaft that goes down directly on top of it. They think if they can do that, they'll be able to intersect the reef at a much lower level where it's supposed to be full of gold and should start making them a lot of money. Now, has anyone got any questions while we're in here?
ඉතින් රත්තරන් හොයන්න හදපු මේ ටනල් එකේදී මිනිස්සු ගොඩක් මැරුණා කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ. ඉතින් එයාලගේ සිරුරු මේ ටවුන් එකේම එක තැනක මිහිදන් කරලත් තියෙනවා. එතන 1500ක වගේ සොහොන් තියෙනවා කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ.
Mine, if you came into work for an 8-hour day, that's exactly what they're expecting from you. They're not keen on giving you a break at all. That won't happen until about 1890. It was when the shearers actually caused a bit of fuss to make more break time for their men that the mining union got involved as well. They end up creating a legislation that gives the men a 10-minute break for their 8-hour day. So really generous of them. Now this is where they'd come for their 10 minutes. If you worked on the lower levels of the mine, you didn't have to come up to this crib room. There would have been a crib room on every level for the men somewhere. And they would have kept it a bit nicer too. They'd have them swept out. They would have had whitewashed walls, lit candle, and they'd even have fresh water here that the company would supply for the men as well. Now one thing that wasn't very nice about the crib room though is a bucket they would have kept in the corner. Yeah, I think if you all worked that out. Yeah, the old toilet bucket. Because originally in the mine, if you came in to work for an 8-hour day, there was no toilets in here and there was no bucket in the corner either. So originally the men are just going to the toilet wherever they feel like, and that becomes pretty disgusting very quickly. They have to stop that. So for a while, each man got his own bucket. This gold mine is our chimney over here. Go to other gold mines, you certainly won't see a chimney inside. beside it. Now that chimney was built by two Cornish brothers and it took them 3 years to do that. They couldn't do it the easy way. They couldn't just start at the top of the mountain and dig straight down because they needed this opening to be exactly where it is for the toilet. So they had to start digging here and chipping that rock.
ඉතින් පසු කාලීනව 1911දී මේ ටනල් එක ඇතුළට පහසුවෙන්ම කට්ටියට ප්‍රවේශ වෙන්න පුළුවන් නිසායි ඒ වගේම තමයි රත්තරන් අඩුවීම නිසාත් මේ ටනල් එක වහලා තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ මේක සංචාරක උරුම ව්‍යාපාරයට ඇතුළත් කරලා දැන් කට්ටිය ගොඩක් මේක බලන්න එනවා. ඉතින් මෙන්න මෙතන තියෙනවා කෞතුකාගාරයක්. මේ කෞතුකාගාරය ඇතුලේ තියෙන්නෙත් එයාලා ඒ කාලේ පාවිච්චි කරපු උපකරණ. රන් කැනීම් කරන්න භාවිතා කරපු තාක්ෂණය මෙන්න මෙතනින් බලා ගන්න පුළුවන්. එයාලා මේ හැමදේම පිළිවෙලකට අස් කරලා සංචාරකයන්ට බලන්න ලෑස්ති කරලා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් හරිම පුදුමයි මේ දේවල් දකිනකොට ඒ කාලේ කොහොමද මේ දේවල් කරලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා පුදුමත් හිතෙනවා. ටනල් එක බලලා ඉවර වෙලා ඊළඟට අපි ගියේ මේ ටවුන් එක බලන්න. මේ ටවුන් එකෙත් ඒ කාලේ හදපු බිල්ඩින් තවමත් ඒ විදිහටම තියෙනවා. සමහර ඒවා නම් එයාලා රිපෙයාර් කරලා සංචාරකයන්ට බලන්න හදලා තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ දවස්වල මේ දේවල් ගොඩක්ම විනාශ වෙලා තියෙන ලැබුගිනි ආපු නිසානේ. මම මේ හැම විස්තරයක්ම අපේ කලින් වීඩියෝ එකේ නම් විස්තර කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වීඩියෝ එක අනිවාර්යෙන්ම බලන්න. සමහර කට්ටිය ඉතිහාසය ගැන හොයන්න ගොඩක් ආසයිනේ. ඉතින් එහෙම කෙනෙක්ට මෙතන නම් හොඳම තැනක් කියලා තමයි මට නම් හිතුනේ. අවුරුදු 100කටත් 150කටත් වඩා පැරණි මේ ඕස්ට්‍රේලියාවේ දේවල් බලන්න ආස කෙනෙක්ට, ඒව ගැන හොයන්න කැමති කෙනෙක්ට මේ තැන හොඳම තැනක්. ඉතින් දැන් අපි ගෙදර යන්න තමයි හදන්නේ. මොකද දැන් ගොඩක් හවස් වෙලා අපිට ගොඩක් දුර යන්නත් තියෙනවනේ. එහෙනම් අපේ මේ වීඩියෝ එක මෙතනින් ඉවර කරනවා. අලුත් ලස්සන තවත් වීඩියෝ එකකින් ඊළඟ සතියක හමු වෙමුකෝ. ඔයාලා හැමෝටම සුබ දවසක්.